Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Smite Patch Analysis. So today we're going to be going over the mid-season update, which is patch 3.12. So the reason I haven't put this video out until today, which is the release day of this patch, is simply because I knew a lot of things would probably change on the PTS, or I thought a lot of things would potentially change on the PTS, and I didn't really want to have to do two videos, like make a video going over it and then make a video going over it again when things changed in the PTS, so I'm not entirely sure I wasn't entirely sure what was going to change in the PTS, so that's why I delayed the video. Let me know if you want me to just do the videos straight away as the patch notes are announced, rather than waiting. I'd only ever wait on large patches like this where a lot could potentially change, but anyway, let me know what you prefer down in the comments. So anyway, Erlang Shen, new god, no point in me really going over him simply because he's been released now. You can go and play him in jungle practice, or if you have the God Pack, which I really recommend you get. Honestly, one of the best deals in any game I've ever seen, simply because you get all of the new gods that will ever be released for a one-time fee. It's a ridiculous deal, and I really am surprised that Hi-Rez still offer it, given how many gods are now in the game. Anyway, so new god skins, not too fussed with those. Summer of Smite, new event, new skins every week. You'll get rewards each time you unlock a certain number of skins. Regular sort of event, nothing too different. Relics, here are the interesting things, item changes, etc. So relics, thorns. Using this item reflects 40% of all damage you take before mitigations for the next 5 seconds back to its owner as magical damage. Why do Hi-Rez make things like this? I don't want it. This is an attempt at bringing back Shield of the Underworld, which was an okay item. I think it only worked on auto attacks. I can't really remember, but I don't like the item in this form where it reflects all damage. It's really going to prevent gods. Not only is it going to damage gods, and people will deliberately jump into damage with this on to try and get kills, but it's basically a super buffed Nemesis shield. Like, I don't like the fact that it's only got a 120 second cooldown, and it's also going to be an incredibly powerful sort of, zoning's not the word, but I can't think of the word to use. But in the team fight, people are going to be scared about putting down AoE abilities if someone has this up. Like, you can basically, if someone's low but the god chasing them is also low, say it's a Poseidon on the enemy team and they're trying to kill one of your teammates, you can literally just stand next to your teammate, and Poseidon will not want to whirlpool your teammate to get the kill, because if you stand in it, he'll kill himself. So I think that's way too much power in one item, given how much you can potentially do with it. Anyway, just my opinion. New relic, Phantom. Using this item allows you to pass through players and player-made objects for 5 seconds. Rip Odin Cage, rip Cabrakan, rip everything. It also grants a 100% reduction to basic attack movement penalty for the duration. So that's basically Hastened Fatalis, but with some extra crap on the side. I don't think there was any need for this, but whatever. Blink. Time out of combat before blink can be used, reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. I like that change. Whether it was necessary or not, I'm not too sure. It will definitely make it easier to get out of fights with blink. If you juke out for 3 seconds, it's a lot easier to do that than it is to juke out for 5. So, I don't know, I like the change because I use blink a lot, but we'll see if it works out. So curse healing reduction decreased from 65% to 50%. I'm happy with that. Try and bring some healers back into the game. I'm absolutely fine with that. Frenzy also applies a 20% attack speed increase for the duration. Now, I keep forgetting which one Frenzy is. I think it's the Girdle of Might looking thing. No one ever uses this, so I always forget it exists. But I guess that's going to help maybe make people get it a bit more. I don't know. Maybe it'll still be shit, maybe it'll get used, I don't know. If it is, it'll probably, maybe, I don't know, because there are just so many other good actives, like Purification, Sanctuary, Blink, Shell, Meditation, Sprint, because there's just so many things you could get other than Frenzy. I'm not sure whether there's much point in, no matter how much it gives, unless it becomes ridiculously overpowered at some point. I don't think there's ever really going to be much point getting it. But anyway, Scout. Revealing enemy wards with Scout causes you to gain 25 gold per ward revealed. So I guess that's just trying to make that item a bit more viable. I still don't think it's going to be bought that much because again there are just so many other good relics to buy. Sprint duration reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds. Cooldown increased from 140 seconds to 150 seconds. Slight nerf there, nothing too insane, but we'll run with it. So Sunder, protection reduction increased from 25% to 30% and also applies a 30% attack speed reduction to the sundered target. So Sunder was an item that really wasn't picked up too much. Whether it'll be picked up now, again, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. It hits me as quite an assassin-y type item, given that it reduces protection and then applies an attack speed reduction or something like that. Like, you dive onto that one target. But there are just, again, other relics that are just better. So I don't know, increase the travel time on teleport from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. Gonna give people more time to destroy a ward if you're teleporting to a ward, and obviously slightly nerf how quickly solo laners can get around the map when they buy teleport. Wrath, using Wrath now stuns nearby enemy gods for 1 second. Increased damage to jungle bosses from 1000 to 1250. Jungle bosses are the Fire Giant and Gold Fury, for anyone that doesn't know. Cooldown was going to be increased from 60 seconds to 90 seconds, however it's no longer going to be, I guess that's just not going to happen anymore. Oh wait, no, it says underneath, updated from PTS, cooldown increased from 90 seconds to 120 seconds. So it went from 60 to 90 and now 90 to 120 seconds. Okay, got it. I was just reading that line there and ignoring what was blurred, but anyway, so that's doubled in its cooldown reduction, duration, and I don't know, I guess it's useful for securing like Gold Fury and Fire Giant, and it's useful to have a stun. I guess it will get picked up by assassins that don't have very good clear early, but other than that, I don't know, again it's just the fact that other relics are just so good. And you really need to have at least Purification, if not Purification and Sanctuary. It's just so useful to have both of them. So, anyway, we'll see if that becomes relevant. Maybe it will on gods with crap early game clear in the jungle. We will see. New item, Ritual Dagger. So, this was 1,850 gold, got increased to 2,000 gold in the PTS. 200 health, 10% cooldown reduction, 20% attack speed, and 10% movement speed. Passive is whenever you use a relic, the duration of that relic's effects are increased by 50%. That is huge. Not entirely sure. I'm trying to think who would get this sort of item. Maybe an assassin-y type character? I mean, I guess it would be useful on supports in a very strange way because their relics have 50% duration increase, but I guess it gives you 10% cooldown reduction, 10% movement speed, 200 health is useful, 20% attack speed isn't so useful. I don't really know. I guess it's useful, it could probably be useful on assassins. 200 health just makes you a little less squishy, cooldown reduction's nice, movement speed is nice, and I guess yeah, on attack speed oriented assassins that could be quite nice. Who the fuck are the attack speed oriented assassins? I guess Nemesis. You don't really get attack speed on Mercury. Mercury's fucked anyway because they remove Golden Bow, as you'll see in a minute. My mind is literally going blank, but anyway, I'm not entirely sure who you will get this on. It's going to be really useful to have a 50% increase on Sanctuary and Purification. I get less so Purification because it tends to be an item you use as you get CC'd. Sanctuary, I guess, it's nice to have a bit more of a duration on it, but I think that passive would have been much better going on a more tanky oriented item for supports to buy, but that's just my opinion. Emperor's Armor. 2,200 gold is what it costs. 250 health and 30 physical protection are what you get. Passive aura, enemy structures within 55 units have their attack speed decreased by 30%. Allied structures within 55 units have their attack speed increased by 30%. Strange item, something we've not really seen before, is a buff and debuff to allied and enemy towers or structures, so I guess it applies to phoenixes as well. I guess this could actually be an interesting second item for people to buy in solo lane, or if they're not getting boots first, if they just go straight for Breastplate of Valor, as I've seen some people do. Instead of getting Breastplate of Valor, get this. Simply, if they're getting pushed back into tower, I guess it gives them a bit more of a defensive stand under their tower, tries to stop the enemy pushing them out. But then again, that could also screw you over because the tower's going to kill your minions faster and mean you get less gold, because as soon as the tower hits a minion, it doesn't give you any gold. So, I'm not really sure where this is going to fall in. Maybe it is going to be more of a support oriented item rather than solo laner, but we will see. Ooh, that's a thought. Could we see it bought on gods like Bastet and Loki for the whole split push bullcrap? Skadi, anyone? Just saying. Coldar OP. Anyway, Adventurer's Blade, I believe that's tier 2 Winged Blade and all of that stuff. Removed crowd control reduction and movement speed increased from 7% to 10%. Not entirely sure why they mess around with this. Like, Winged Blade, they haven't made any changes to actual Winged Blades, so I don't know. Antsile, Anchally, whatever the fuck that is supposed to be, increased magical protection from 40 to 60, and whenever you take magical damage from an enemy ability, you unleash a shockwave that silences all enemies within a range of 20 units for 1 second. This effect cannot trigger more than once every 60 seconds. I like that idea of a passive, although whenever you take magical damage from an enemy, I'm trying to think how big 20 units is, because most enemy gods are going to be hitting you from a decent range, so probably wouldn't end up getting hit by this silence, so I'm not entirely sure whether that's going to be useful or not. That's the only problem. Anyway, we will see. Okay, Hi-Res are fucked up somewhere here because it's Executioner, but it's actually Bancroft's Talon. Okay, so ignore Executioner, it's not Executioner, we're talking about Bancroft's Talon here. So, the passive has been updated, so the 100 power from this item's passive will now be gained when at 25% health, up from 0% health, because obviously when you're at 0% health, it's a bit useless because you're dead. Brilliant. So, Hi-Res, why have you done this? Golden Bow removed. Why? Well, rip Mercury for a start. Mercury is probably not going to do very well now. However, I don't understand why Hi-Res have to do this. They have buffed Golden Bow and it became broken. They nerfed it twice, in the just not in the right way, and now they've removed it, which they've basically held their hands up and said, we have no idea how to balance this game, which I agree they don't. Because they seem to have, as you'll see in a bit, they seem to have this idea that increasing numbers on things is the way that you're supposed to buff things, which is not always the case. Anyway, so Golden Bow been removed. The splash damage on auto attacks is a great concept, and sorry if you just heard that bike go past my house. I don't understand why they'd have to remove it. It does need more balancing, but to just straight remove it is a bit stupid in my opinion. Heartseeker, new passive. Hitting an enemy with a basic attack helps you gain focus, increasing attack speed by plus 3% per stack, max 5 stacks. At 5 stacks, your next ability cast consumes the stacks and provides an additional 40 physical power for 3 seconds. So, again, good on, I guess it's going to be good on people like Loki, maybe. I don't know, physical power is just power. It's in itself is a completely useless stat for the majority of the time, simply because you're better off getting pen or attack speed or crit or something else. Like, there are ways to deal more damage that are way more effective than buying power. So I don't know, I still don't see this item being bought a huge amount, but I guess it's slightly better than before. Anyway, Runeforged Hammer. Enemies who are within 20 units of you and are slowed take 10% more damage from all sources. This would be really interesting to see people get with with a Kali on the team. So, or even a Nemesis on the team. If Nemesis uses her ultimate and also slows them, then if you get this on a Nemesis, it's going to be a really, really strong item, I'd say. But also bought on a team where where the jungler's playing Kali, because if there's a warrior nearby and they have this and Kali's target is there, if Kali's fighting her target, all someone on the team has to do is slow Kali's target for her, and Kali's going to be dealing an extra 10% damage against that target. So that's on top of the bonus damage that she'll be dealing from her passive, because that's the whole point of Kali. But anyway, so yeah, some really interesting combinations with this item. I think it'll be picked up a lot more now. Updated visual effects on Genji's guard, brilliant. Spectral armor. When you activate a relic, your cooldowns are reduced by 3 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 30 seconds. So when they changed over from the active system, purification beads just became purification. Now, tier 3 purification beads, whilst making you CC immune, also reduced your cooldowns, I believe, by 3 seconds. They might have changed it a few times, I can't exactly remember, but it did reduce your cooldowns when activated, and it was a really interesting thing to see happen. People would pop their purification just to get the 3-second cooldown reduction on their abilities if they needed it, and not always to get the CC immunity. So to have this passive on an item, I can definitely see this as a useful item to get now. So you can make that decision between grabbing a relic, using a relic, sorry, for its actually intended purpose, or using a relic to get your 3-second cooldown reduction. Interesting to see how people use that, but I think it will be a viable item, providing the other stats are good. I can't actually remember what the other stats on it are. AMC, God changes, interesting things now. Increased the damage on the honey from 8 scaling to 60 to 13 scaling to 61, so made his early game a little bit stronger. In the end, it doesn't even matter. Apologies for that reference. I don't even listen to that song. I don't know why I said that. In the end, he still ends up with 60-61. There's no difference. Why, high-res, why? Anubis, gonna be even more pub stompy than normal because they've buffed him. But he stands still while doing all of his damage, so he's still not going to be competitively viable. So he's literally just a stompy god against people that don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Not entirely sure why he needed to be made any stronger, but whatever. Kuang gets a slight nerf. His 3, which is Wildstorm, has had the damage decreased from 90 scaling to 290 to 80 scaling to 260. So late game, that's going to do a lot less burst. That is quite a decent nerf to him. I'm sure it will still be very, very good though. Arachne, so now fires her web as a projectile of web and spiders. Arachne shoots a line of web forward. She is immune to slows and moves faster on the web. If the web reaches max range, a web trap will spawn. Enemy gods who walk through the trap or get hit by the projectile are slowed by 25%. Revealed to Arachne leave a trail of web behind them and are attacked by broodlings. Holy crap, that's a long sentence. Arachne can only have 2 web traps active at a time, and the webs last 240 seconds. So again, I don't think Arachne will be played that much, simply because there are just better gods to play, but hey, I guess this change will be different. Yeah, good job, Hi-Res. Aphrodite, finally. So Aphrodite, her passive now gives her 4 physical and magical protections for each friendly and enemy god within 70 units of her. So she's really focused upon being in that team fight and healing her team now. That stacks up to 9 times. and her kiss now provides 30% mana regeneration. Maybe we'll see Aphrodite a bit more in games now, who knows. But that sounds like we're heading in the right direction. Chang'e, Moonflower Dance, scaling on the healing portion of this ability increased from 30% to 40%. Nothing insane there, but again, this patch seems to be aimed towards bringing healers back into the meta, so I'm sure that is a good thing. Fafnir, the stun has been increased, and they've changed what time the tick damage applies in dragon form on all of the abilities and all that stuff, and increased the damage on dragon breath. Not entirely sure why that's necessary. He's a guardian, you need to be focusing on his utility and not the damage, but again, Hi-Rez seem to put numbers on things when they need buffing. So, Guan Yu, why they needed to change Guan Yu, I have no idea. It was really unnecessary in my opinion. But anyway, so now he has max stacks of 30 instead of 20. I believe he can't use the stacks midway anymore. He has to get them up to 30 stacks, I think. And all of his abilities now have a bonus when used with the stacks. So his heal does more healing. Warrior's Will, the slow is doubled. Halu Assault has the protection steal increased, and the slow is doubled and the stun is doubled on his ultimate when boosted by his passive. So I guess it gives you more options on when to use that those passive stacks, but nah, I guess I don't know why they had to do it. I guess it's a good buff overall. Might make him a bit too strong. Excuse me, we will see. But I don't know. I'm not sure it was necessary. But whatever, Hi-Rez, you do you. So here's one of my main issues with this patch. Hell. Now, Hell is not great. It's not really used much because healers are shite. Her burst damage can be quite annoying. Like, she does a lot of damage. Her 3 does a lot of damage if she's fully in dark stance. However, Hi-Rez being Hi-Rez haven't acknowledged the fact that the reason she's not really used is, 1, because healers aren't very good at the moment, but 2, because, well, healers aren't very good at the moment, and I guess also Hell lacks some form of escape. But her heal is really, really strong, provided people aren't reducing the heal, which is what the issue is. But obviously they're reducing the amount of healing reduction on items like Curse, so bringing healers back into the meta. But they've gone and buffed Hell's damage. They've done the typical Hi-Rez thing and thought, well, this god isn't used much, so let's buff their numbers. Which doesn't work in this case, because now Hell will probably be a bit too strong. Like, she already did enough damage. It was just because healers aren't very strong, she wasn't used. So deal with with the actual problem, which is the healing problem, not with her damage, because that was, in my opinion, not the problem. But I guess we'll see. So I'm not even going to go over that because it pisses me off that Hi-Rez just throw numbers at things when they think someone's not played very much. Najar, or Najar, however the fuck you want to pronounce it, gains stacks from successful basic attacks and ability hits, and 2 times stacks from critical hits. Each stack provides him with 0.5% crit chance, and stacks are lost after being out of combat for 5 seconds. So 5 seconds is quite a long time, especially, like, that's out of combat, so there's a delay. You're not immediately out of combat after you kill something. There is, like, a good few seconds until you're out of combat, so that's a lot more than 5. That's effectively a lot more than 5. Flaming Spear now heals up to 15% of Najar's maximum HP, depending on how many stacks of Righteous Spirit he has, 0.75% of health per stack. I like this because it means that you no longer have to really worry about losing all of you. Like, you want to use Flaming Spear, but you've got all of your stat. You want to use Flaming Spear for the buff that it gives you on your auto attacks, but the problem is you don't want to lose all of your passive stacks because you don't need the heal. That was the original problem. That's not going to happen now because it doesn't remove the stacks. So I do quite like that. Odin, New passive, whenever any god dies on the battleground, Odin gains 10% movement speed and 10% power for 10 seconds. This buff can stack up to 5 times. That was reduced to an 8-second duration in the PTS. That's just going to allow him to rotate a lot faster, I think. If there's a fight breaking out, he can rotate off the solo lane, or as the support, if he's being played in support, he can get to the fight a lot quicker if he's not there. I guess it's a good thing. As long as it's balanced, I like the thinking behind it. Ring of Spears, Odin gains permanent stacks of +5 attack power for each enemy god that dies inside the ring. Okay, so nothing over the top there. Not entirely sure what +5 attack power is going to do for him, considering power's a not very good stat to have, and he's either played in solo or in support, so I don't know what the point of that is, but we'll see. Removed magical protection scaling from Raijin, just in general, so he's going to be a lot more squishy to enemy mages now, I guess. Ratatuska reduced health per level from 75 to 73, and reduced the damage on Acorn Blast scaling from 50 to 110 to 40 to 100. So slight nerf again to Ratatuska. Slight buff to Sylvanas. He's not really been played much in the support role, so maybe we'll see him a bit more often now. I don't know. Vamana has had some tooltip edits, guys. Interesting. Whatever. New passive on Vulcan. Whenever Vulcan successfully hits an enemy god with an ability, he gains +15 mana per 5 seconds and 15% movement speed for 5 seconds. So I like the movement speed, gives him a bit more mobility, because he doesn't really have that much of an escape. He is quite slow moving. So yeah, I don't know, I like that passive. I can't actually remember what his old passive was, so I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing that it's changed, but I do like the movement speed. But anyway, so thank God that's the end of the patch notes. Leave your opinions down in the comments. Holy shit. And yeah, like the video if you like, subscribe to see more, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.